And there's so many great examples out there of well done or not well done emotional beats. I would just say, like, if you're someone who is like new to the concept of emotional beats, just try looking at what you've written so far on your current whip and be like, what is the character or character's emotions starting out and where are they at when they end this chapter? Or go look at a really like something that's been really well established and look up, okay, what are the emotional beats in this chapter versus, from start to end, and just kind of practice that element of learning how to recognize the underlying, the running emotions as opposed to like the surface level ones, because that'll be just so helpful for your own writing. Hey guys, welcome back to the Untitled Workin' Podcast. I'm your co-host Lauren.
And I'm your co-host Darcy.
And today we are talking about emotional story beats or emotional beats, whichever one you want to call them.
Emotions.
Having motivated emotions that make sense.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. What? No, that's great.
No. You're going to make me talk about emotions, Lauren?
I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to.
My running emotion is anxiety.
Oh, no. Did you watch Inside Out too?
Yes.
How did that make you feel?
Yeah. Anxiety definitely holds the reins.
Oh, dang. Have joy be like, get out of there. Let's go.
Anxiety and sadness hold hands when they push the buttons.
Oh, sad. Dang. Well, what a way to kick us off on this episode. We're being real. We're being honest. We're acknowledging emotions, which is important.
Yeah. That's always important.
Absolutely. My house church is going through emotionally healthy relationships right now. If you've never read those books, they're really good, but there's a lot of deep stuff in there, real deep.
I've really got to get some self-help books that are like that. Maybe I'll read those.
You should. There's emotionally healthy relationships would probably be a good one to start with.
Yeah.
Oh, and Shrinking the Integrity Gap. That's also a really good one. I think I recommended that one a while ago, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check them out. Because they'll probably also help with like writing, but like also me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I feel like writing is just sharing what life is about. So anything that like helps you understand what life is about is enhancing your ability to write.
Yes, totally agree.
I'm not a tax professional and I cannot make tax recommendations. Writing books and self-help stuff could potentially be considered research materials.
You're not wrong.
Again, not a tax professional or consultant, and I'm not giving tax advice at all.
Me neither.
Just making an observation. Is it correlation? No, not correlation. Anyways, getting back on our emotional beat track. What are emotional beats if people don't know what they are?
Yes. So emotional beats are they fall into your story beats, but they're more of a nuanced instance of a character's internal state during these story beats that you have.
Yeah.
So their reactions, realizations, pauses that can occur throughout the scenes that drive the emotional arc throughout the entire story.
Yeah. I was gonna say story beats is like your external, emotion beats are your internal is a good way to think about it too.
Yes, yeah. Because in your story beats, a lot of the times too, like when you set up the emotional beats, they might not necessarily be the emotion that you're showing the readers outwardly in the story beats, but it's what's driving that story forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of benefit to at least acknowledging what the emotion beats are at the start and the end of each scene, because it really helps you inform your next scene. So yeah, they are different, but they do kind of fall in the same realm. And I will say they're harder to do if you don't know your character super well.
Yes, yeah. Because they also play like a very large portion in almost all dialogue interactions. Because if you're, if you have the overlying emotion that you're showing the audience, say it's like funny and bubbly and it seems happy, right? But your character on the inside's sad, depressed,
angry. It's a revenge moment.
Yeah. You're, as the writer, you're gonna have to lay those nuances within the scene that shows the readers that there's more to what's happening than what the
Yeah.
character is showing outwardly.
Yeah.
But it'll play into the way that they respond. So
Yeah.
somebody's gonna come up to them and be like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" Because like something like intense just happened, and say like your character's putting on this facade of like I'm good, I'm fine, like I'm great, but like on the inside they're like not.
Mhm.
It's gonna play out as like a yeah, I'm totally fine, and your follow up's gonna be something like her eyes glanced away, because she was lying, or obviously, please write better than that, but like. But it's
We're coming up with stuff on the cuff.
yeah, it's more like, "I'm fine." Her voice cracked slightly as she
Mhm.
avoided eye contact because she
Yeah.
didn't want them to see the emotions she's feeling inside, something like that, like, it's gonna play with the dialogue because you as the reader now, you're gonna see something, somebody says, "I'm fine." If you don't follow it up with any of that emotional beat
Mhm.
afterwards,
Yeah.
people are just gonna be like, "Oh, she's fine."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
So
if you think about it too, like, in everyday life, if someone says, "How are you doing?" The way you respond to that will vary based on the relationship, based on the context of the situation you're in. Like, there's so many nuances and stuff to that it's like you may say, "I'm great," in a professional setting, but if you're talking to your therapist or you're talking to a best friend or a family member, you might be like, "I hate life right now," or whatever, or "I'm so angry," or "I'm so sad," or whatever the real emotion is. But those emotions, the important thing to remember is that those emotions are still there and they're driving what's happening, like Darcy said, but they're there. So I think that's
yeah.
one thing that I always try to remember and sometimes get caught up in is that I'm like, well, in this scene, they wouldn't be like, I'm angry and hate the world. They'd be like, life is good, life is fine. But that anger is still there. So, like, what happens when in real life, or you cover that anger with like denial or with happiness or like putting on a mask or putting on a front, And so it's like, okay, they might say things a little bit more snippy, or they might have a shorter temper when it comes to, problems arising in this situation, or, like whatever the thing may be.
And if they're, like, if there's somebody that pushes down their emotions and they would
Mhm.
respond in, like, a typical, like, happy sounding way,
Mhm.
their body language is going to give them
Yes.
away.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. There's like there's a formula that you can use, and I know everyone who hears formula is going like, "Ew, boo, formula. I'm a writer,
Boo!
I'm a creative. I don't use
We're all pantsers
formulas."
here.
Okay, come on. I'm not saying that planning is the only way to do this. I'm just saying I don't have enough brain space in my mind to keep everything there instead of writing it down and planning it out.
Well, download some more brain storage.
I was literally this week talking to someone, and I was like, there's way too much of my brain space taken up by that childhood thing right there of like just something dumb of like, childhood movies that we watched. And I'm like, I wish I could like delete that stuff and like clear up the space because I'm like, I don't need this memory. Like, I don't need these things. There's too much in my brain.
Clear the
Anyways,
cache.
you can do this as a non-planner, like, as someone who doesn't plan. This is still very doable. You just
It
do it in
is.
your head.
It is. As a pantser, I will agree it is.
Hey, you said it, not me. All right, I will say, look, to go back to the emotional beats formula, I will say that if you want to follow this process or this formula, it is helpful in getting things started. But again, if you find a different way that works, go with that. But what you can do is you can say, if character A, my MMC or my MFC, is who you have to have established, right? You have to know who this person is. Although I will say that sometimes doing these emotional beat exercises reveals a lot to you that you didn't know about the character. They're like,
Yes.
oh, they would not have responded that way. Or as you go back and look through it, you're like, oh, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But basically, the premise is if character A goes into blank situation and interacts with character X, Y, or Z, what happens? And so you're taking like someone who's this type of person goes into a situation and has to interact with people who are not like that type of person, who interact with the situation differently. And then that gives you kind of an idea of like, okay, their underlying emotion, their emotion they're feeling is going to be these things. But in the situation, they can't show those things, or they can only show those things in this certain way, or around these people, they can only be X, Y, or Z, right? So it helps you understand as you're writing, like, oh, I've got to hide these emotions, or I've got to cover these emotions, or they can't be that way societally. They have to present it a different way, in a more acceptable way. So yeah, I think that's just where it's helpful, and that's why the formula is just kind of like a kickoff for your brain to be like, oh, how would they?
Yeah, and I think that's, like, honestly, it's a super great way to learn more about your character, like you were saying, 'cause, even if it's a minor interaction, like somebody interacting with, like, their college professor,
Mhm.
knowing how they'd interact with that will help you later on if they run into just a character that is sort of a part of their life but isn't or hasn't been in a while, it'll set
Mhm.
you up to know later on how they'd interact with somebody as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And honestly, that's why it is so critical for us as writers to understand who our characters are. And again, I'm not saying that you have to be a planner. You could know all that information in your head and have it on lockdown. That's fine. I just think that they're like, there's a benefit to knowing who your characters are before you go into the story, because that is who your story is about. That's who your readers resonate with, the
Yeah.
characters. They don't necessarily resonate with, like, a situation. Like, obviously, people can be like, "Oh, yeah, that situation's sucky." But why is it sucky? Why do we care that it's sucky? Because it impacted a
Yeah.
person we resonate with, or a character we resonate with, So
Yeah. Well, as a pantser too, like, even though I haven't written out, like, these emotional beats in the past, um, in a way, I have, because,
Mhm.
when I first create the character, when I'm writing the character, generally, I know their base, like, their baseline. I know,
Mhm.
like, with the character that I'm working on, not right this second because 'cause we're doing Unholy Vows, but,
Yeah.
my story, my, like, independent story,
Yeah.
the character when I created her, one of the only things that I knew about her is that she was angry with the world,
Mm.
and so when I had first started writing the story, that's all I knew. I knew this character, I knew kind of some of what her life was, who she was, not
Mhm.
in depth in the way we spoke about with character development, because again, like I said, in that episode, I learn my character as I write my character a lot of the times,
Yeah.
but I always know that first base emotion, like, what is the biggest emotion that sits in them? And that way I know how to plan accordingly as the story goes on.
Mhm. And I will say, for people who don't want to be pegged as a planner, and even for people who are planners, this is important to remember, is that when you go to write your summary, you're only going to be able to highlight, like, a few main story beats or emotional beats, but you have to highlight a few main story beats or emotional beats. So if you don't know what those are when you finish your story, chances are your readers won't either, if it's unclear, if it's fuzzy. But when you read through it, you have to be able to understand, like, oh, this is a big moment, and this is why it's a big moment, and distill that down into a summary, because that's what's going to go on the back of your book. That's what people are going to read to understand what this story is about, and whether or not they want to embrace it and read it and jump into that world with you.
Yeah, we had, like, we were talking earlier, we were working on our emotional beats, and we were talking about a scene that is a very big emotional moment in Unholy Vows, and we both kind of like, and we were both looking at it in different ways.
Yeah.
Um, like, if we go this route, then it kind of changes, like, the premise of, like, the way the story is. But if
Oh,
we go
yeah.
this, because we're doing a romantic comedy, but it
Yeah.
also kind of falls into the dark comedy category because
Very
of the
much so.
premise of the story.
Zombies.
So
What's not lighthearted about that?
right. So we had to kind of work through that specific emotional scene of the
Yeah.
beats, which we haven't fully dived into yet because it's actually
Mm-mm.
like one of the ending scenes. But
Mhm.
even in that small time that we talked about it, if we go certain directions, it very much changes the way that that scene plays out and how it can play out in a
Yeah.
movie sense. Because
Sure.
in the long run, we're writing a book, but we're also going to be making a movie, so we have to figure out how that's all going to play together.
God
Yeah.
willing.
So yeah, fingers crossed.
We started the book to be able to get the movie going, and then we started the podcast to be able to get the book going. Then we started the novella to be able to get the podcast to get the movie going.
Technically, we started the movie and then started the book.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Oh,
all
yeah,
of these
yeah.
things have trickled down from wanting to tell a movie story because we're filmmakers, but we're also writers. So we were like, we could do a novel. That would be great. And then we were like, we could
Let's
do a
do both.
podcast. That could be great. We could do a novella.
We can
At
just
some
do
point, we have
everything.
to
It's
write the
fine.
novel and the script.
We really do, man. That's where this all started, and it's been a year. Oh, gosh.
It has. I went back and I
Yeah.
was looking at stuff the other day, and we had like conversations and comments and stuff from like March of last year.
So
I
I
was like,
think February was
dang.
when you called me, because that's when I was
Was that?
moving.
Oh,
Mhm.
dang. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, almost a year. And so far, we've released one whole season of a podcast, a novella, and we've started season 2 of the podcast. So, like,
Hey.
we've still accomplished a lot. We just kind of went on a rabbit trail to
Derailed.
get there, but
Us and those dang rabbit trails.
golly.
Every
Man.
time.
Yeah, pretty much just falling into Wonderland every day.
Yeah. Speaking of rabbit trails, let's hop back off of this one.
Yep, pretty much. We're getting better at catching them and getting back on
We
track, though, I
are,
will say.
yeah.
I will say, yeah. No, it's good.
The emotional beats for though the back on track.
Yes.
The emotional beats. Another way to really understand like the emotional beats for a chapter or a scene. There's some questions that you can ask as well. That Lauren did so much research for this. Lauren is our researcher. I need you guys to know this. I come into these podcast episodes and Lauren's like, here's a document, read it. And I'm like, okay, perfect.
I'm a planner.
Yeah. It really translates to everything in life. I'm a pantser for everything. You're a planner. It's beautiful. Anyways, questions to ask.
Go for it. Go for it.
So you've got stuff like, what happened in the moment before this?
So important.
Yeah. Did something shift in between chapters or scenes? So, like, you know, if you're going with person A having an interaction with person B, right? What happened to lead up to this interaction? And has anything changed between, like, maybe the decision to speak with this person or the relationship with this person?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we, if you had stopped a chapter and this is the beginning of the next chapter, are you transitioning from a fight? Are you picking up from it? Or are you time jumping to where they haven't talked since? Is it going to be sad? Like, because the emotional beats at the very beginning of each chapter is going to really help pull people in to continue reading that chapter.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else do we have?
Well, one thing to piggyback on that is that
Yeah.
if you're understanding what happened beforehand is super important, because even if especially if there's a time jump, like if there's a time jump between scenes or between chapters, your character has lived life during that time jump, so to speak. Like when you go from one big moment to the next, it's not like big moment, big moment, big moment, big moment in your own life. There's usually chores and homework and work and like stuff that you're doing that's more mundane, but that also influences your emotions, right? So if you end one scene after this big moment and maybe it was a big fight with somebody and then you don't see them for like 2 weeks, it's like, are you letting go of that resentment or that anger? Is it building up? Is somebody like rubbing it, like trying to egg you on? Like what's happening in those moments? Because that's going to inform how you go into that next chapter or that next scene. And so it's like if you have a fight with, character A and character B have a fight, and then character A is just character A is a mom, has to take care of kids and work and take care of a home or an apartment and keep things running and keep things moving. It doesn't have time to deal with those emotions, and then runs into character B. And maybe character B has been stewing this whole time and just been thinking about it and in their head the whole time. And then character A has been too overwhelmed to deal with the emotions, and character B has just been thinking about it nonstop. So when they next meet each other, how is that going to impact whatever situation they're in?
Yeah. And I mean, because say you also have like a character A and B and they had this big emotional moment. Maybe it's a fight, right? Like they have a fight.
It's an easy one.
And yeah, it is. It's the easiest one to bounce off of. So like say
Yeah.
they have a fight and then they don't see each other for a while, of course. But you have one character who maybe has some insecurities about the way that
Mhm.
their relationship is. So this
Sure.
character is going to sit there and they're going to, even though they're going about life, maybe it sits in the back of their head and they're like, I should just let this go. This was dumb. I was obviously in the wrong. You know, they have points and they're like conceding that, you know, that this is fine. But as soon as they see character B, they're instantly angry again. Because that
Mhm.
can,
Sure.
something
Yeah.
like they've been compartmentalizing so much that
Yeah.
but when they're faced again with the moment,
Mhm.
it's all comes rushing back. And then like maybe character B hasn't even been thinking about it at all. Like maybe
They're
they're
like,
just
"Why are you
like,
angry?"
yeah, like, why are you yelling at me? I haven't seen you in 2
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. I don't have enough brain space to remember we had a fight.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
too many things I can't delete.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh my gosh. But like it goes back to what we said earlier about being a writer or an author is or a storyteller in general. Being a storyteller is all about taking what happens in life and translating it into a story that you can tell other people, that other people can come and engage in, whether it's reading or watching or whatever. And so think about situations where you were A and, character A or character B, where you were in a situation that may or may not be similar to what your characters are going through. How did you feel? How did you react? Even if you aren't the same personality type, think about other people who might also be that personality type. How do you think they would react? Like just being observant and I don't know, just taking in the world, people watching. I when people ask me, "What do you do to, like, get out of ruts when you're, like, either in writer's block or you're just kind of feeling down as a writer?" I tell people, like, "Get out of the house and go interact with people, with humans." Either people
Yeah.
watch, if you're introverted or if you don't feel like talking to people, people watch, or go hang out with friends or people that you can just, like, chat with casually or just, like, be around because you'll notice so many things, and if you're in a writer's block moment, that might be the thing that, like, triggers that aha, next step moment, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I know exactly what gotta do. I gotta leave, bye."
Yeah. Yeah. That it's super helpful though. I've done that before too. Just because then you'll be like, oh, okay. This makes I can see more why this character would react this way or
Yeah.
they have to react this way.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
great advice.
It's
Um,
helped in the past.
yeah. Well, I also think too, so we talked a lot about like the beginning emotions. You
Mhm.
also want to make sure that you know like where the chapter maybe where the chapter ends, right? So like if you know where the emotions start and end for each interaction,
Mhm.
you also need to know how the emotions start and end with the chapter because that's going to play into where your emotional beats hit in each scene in the chapter. Because say your character starts out angry, but you want the chapter to end with them actually happy. Every emotional beat interaction between the beginning and the end of that chapter, you're going to have to figure out a way to transition from that anger into that happiness in a way that doesn't feel jarring. It needs to feel
Yeah.
true to form.
And I will say that this is also I will say that understanding what we normally did or what we've been doing for emotional beats is we have emotional beat start, emotional beat end for each chapter or scene idea that we have. And we've just gone in and written that out. But the reason it works really well for what we're doing as planning this stuff out is that we have the outline and the story beats. So what we're doing is we're going through these beats and saying, we've said that this character start like the scene picks up right here and it goes and all this stuff happens and this is where it ends before we go on to the next scene or moment. And so we can read that and say, "Oh, well obviously this character that we know so well in this moment with these people or these characters would feel this." And when it ends after we've read through that paragraph or that little snippet, when it ends she's probably feeling this. But then also there's an element of, like, understanding that, again, like an outline, it's not supposed to box you in or tie you down. If you find out that your character actually responds a different way, that's fine. It's just using it as a metric to make sure if they started here and they ended way over here, does that make sense? So it's like another way you can do the emotional beats is to wait to do it until you've written the chapter and then go back and read through it and say, if I had to summarize what emotions they were feeling, not showing, feeling, like they feel this and they
Yeah.
end feel to start and they end feeling this and then go through and be like, does that even make sense based on what happened? Kind of a thing. And if it does
Yeah.
make sense, great. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't even mean that your emotions are off. It just means that it's not coming through clearly or it's not being communicated clearly enough for people to understand or to pick up on that. Like, for
Yeah.
example, when we originally wrote the novella, we had a or the carnival scene that's in there.
It's so funny. I
Originally,
was literally just thinking about this.
were you really?
Yeah, I was like,
What were you
I want to
thinking?
bring up. Oh, so I wanted to bring up how we knew that she was gonna be, like, this was gonna be, like, the big blow up scene,
Mhm.
but we never worked on, like, the emotional beats of where she's gonna
Yeah.
start and where she's gonna
Yeah.
end, so it
Yeah.
fluctuated a lot throughout the
Yes.
chapter.
Yes, yeah, and the character, like, spiked and then dropped and then spiked and then dropped emotionally and did all these different emotions, so it came across very differently than who she was normally. And again, like,
Yeah.
the spikes and drops are fine if you've established that's who the character is. You know, Romeo and Juliet, people sometimes are like, "Why are they so, like, all over the place emotionally?" But if you think about it, they're both, like, 15-year-olds in the
Well,
play.
Romeo's 21.
Oh, I'm sorry. The girl is 15.
Yeah.
Juliet's 15. It's been so long since I've seen that. Anyways, so but the point of it being that, like, for her, she's experiencing emotions of that strength for the first time, or it's very new to her. So for her to be like, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna die because you're dead, or whatever, you're like an adult who's learned how to regulate that might be like, oh, like come on, like that's not
Yeah.
accurate. But if you think about it from someone who's never felt those emotions before, they're like, oh yeah, especially at that strength, like wow, yeah, you would probably be like, I'm just gonna die.
Yeah. It's very common with teenagers. I mean, I know I was like that.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
you're feeling those feelings at those strengths for the first time, and it can feel very discombobulating.
And you're flooded with hormones, like, that's, like, a huge part too
Yeah.
of, like, if you're writing like a teenager. You really have to, like even though you know who this character is, you also have to play on the fact that, like, there's external factors that will change the way they respond in the situation, or internal, like hormones. Like, you might have a really level-headed person, but they're 15, so their hormones
Hmm.
are, like, ramped up to, like,
Yeah.
11, so they're not gonna
Yeah.
be level-headed all the time, and it's gonna
Yeah.
feel a little like they're all over the place.
But I think to that point, that's why it's so important to make it clear.
Yeah.
Like, to make it clear to the reader, because before I understood some of the nuances of Romeo and Juliet, I was like, what is wrong with this? What is wrong with these people, period? Like, why are we murdering everyone and pretending to be dead and being all over the place with our emotions and also all the other stuff that happens in Romeo and Juliet? But it's like it's important for people to be able to understand, like, oh, this character is blank. And even if you're using like throwaway lines or you're using, show not tell to communicate that, it's just so important to communicate those elements to people so they understand. A character that's a good example of that is Jinx, I think is the character's name
Uh,
in
um,
Arcane. Is that what it is
Arc
on Netflix?
yeah, I think it's Arcane.
Anyways, the show that came out a while ago, I only saw the first season, but in the beginning of the
Beautiful
show,
show.
yeah, art-wise, it's very, very well done. But at the beginning of the show, it shows them as kids, and it shows all this horrible trauma stuff that happens that is all blamed on this character. And then she gets picked up by a very evil person who continues to twist her and stuff. And she becomes this incredibly unstable, mentally and emotionally unstable character. But you understand, oh, that makes sense. I think I'd probably be worse off than her. She's functioning pretty well given everything that happened beforehand. But the audience and the people like enjoying the story understand that because you've showed them, you've laid the
Yeah.
groundwork, so to speak, that this is a normal reason for this character to be unnormal. Like,
Yeah. And the issue that we had run in with the novella and that scene, the carnival scene, was that in the original draft of it, Matilda was a very
so different
yeah,
than the
she was
actual
very
one.
anxiety ridden. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the anger and stuff fluctuating the way it did wouldn't have fit. She was more of a flight and not a fight. And then
Mm.
in the carnival scene when we were writing it, she was becoming more of a fight and then flight, fight, like back and forth, like rapidly. And it didn't fit with like the character we had created.
Right, right. And I think also the scene building up to that, we had gotten that scene locked in really well. But then when we went to start that next scene, it started so differently from where she had been in the scene before, even though that those two scenes are like basically like 20 minutes apart, that it was like,
Yeah.
we got to go back and understand where we ended that scene so we can start this scene accurately.
Yeah. Because
Emotionally.
I think we had ended up concluding because we were supposed to be building momentum and we had ended up
Mhm.
making it more of a conclusion in the previous chapter
Yes.
where it wouldn't have
Yes.
built properly.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was one thing that was really important for me to remember of like characters need to have flaws because people have flaws. And we
Yeah.
like there have been a few times where it was like that character's responding too well. Like, that's
Yeah.
I know we want this person to be a great person, but they're human. So, like, they're going to have moments where they don't respond the best. And so it's just like,
Yeah.
having, like, I think Candace was one that I thought of like, the chapter before that carnival scene ends, and there's been, like, this, like, tension between Candace and another character, and then the next scene starts up with them in a car together, going to the carnival, and
There's no
it
tension.
there's no tension anymore. It's all just like all the tension is on the one character, but not Candace. And Candace is like, I'm here for you. I'm the best. We're gonna be great. Don't worry about it. And I was like, I don't think that's how this person would respond. And so we had to be like, okay, as much as we want to make Candace this great person who's a really good friend and, cares and stuff, she still does. She still is that. But she's human, so she's probably annoyed. She's probably ticked. She's probably a little miffed. I'm gonna take a moment away from you, the other character.
She's probably overwhelmed because she's never had a situation like this with that other character before. Like, they didn't really fight much, and so now this situation like that they're in is just like, this is a big thing. This other person, we've never talked about this type of stuff together. Like, it's she'd be much angrier than just like, everything's fine now.
Don't worry about it. But again, also, like, if anger is the underlying emotion, you can still cover it with everything's fine now. Don't worry about it. It just has to make sense. Like, you have to be able to, like, the reader has to know that they're still so angry, even though they're like, everything's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like the really important thing with like the emotional beats of something too, is it helps you create a character that's not responding perfectly, because you may have some people in your life, you may have met somebody that responds perfectly to every situation, but if you watch them, but if you watch them closely and you pay attention, there's small tells that are showing you that, like, just because they're responding perfectly doesn't mean that there's not something going on. But to create a more realistic character when people are reading it, you have to give them, like Lauren was saying, you have to give them flaws. They can't be perfect.
Well, and there's also another thing of, like, everyone feels emotions, and the emotions you feel aren't bad. It's what you do with them, right? And so it's like showing someone struggling to feel an emotion, but choose the right thing to do, or the helpful thing to do, or whatever you want to define that as. Like, that's where there's power in it. It's like, why do we care about Captain America more than Superman, right? Referencing back to our last episode where we talked about the struggle with having Superman as a character of, like, Captain America struggles. He fights. He's the underdog. He is constantly trying, but he's also constantly growing. And so it's like, you want to root for that. You're like, oh my gosh, there is still people trying to do the right thing, even if they feel X, Y, or Z, or even if they're considered blank, 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 or they're told blank, blank, blank about themselves.
Yeah, and another reason why they're such a likable character, like Captain America, or even if you look at like Katniss, and we talk about the Hunger Games a lot, but
we're millennials. Well, you're a millennial, but whatever.
No, I hate. I'm a.
Oh, we found a little T trigger for Darcy.
I'm a cusper. I guess I'm a millennial. That's fine. Anyways,
there'll be a conversation, HR conversation after this episode.
I'm being bullied.
Oh my gosh.
Dear Lauren, HR manager. I'm being bullied by Lauren.
Lauren. I'm being bullied by co-host Lauren. Oh my gosh. People are going to get so mad. They're going to take this out of context and be like, she's a bully, cancel. I'm like, I'm not doing anything.
Everybody cancel Lauren.
No, don't say that. People will do that. Also, if they cancel me, they cancel you, because this is a co-hosted podcast.
No. Okay, wait. Take it back. Don't cancel anything.
Renew us
for another season.
Oh gosh. I don't know.
Anyways,
rabbit trail.
Yeah,
Katniss. Katniss Everdeen.
Yes. So the reason why we like characters like Captain America and Katniss Everdeen is because we are shown the consequences of their emotional reactions. There's stories where you'll read it and there'll be like an emotional scene, and then there's like either a time jump, or like they just forgive the other person like really fast. There's no consequences given for what's happened. And that can make a story feel not as I don't want to say genuine, because like everybody's story is important and it's good. It's their story, but it can make a story less resonating. It won't
Mhm.
resonate as well as with the reader because there's never any consequences. So everything's always fine. And that can be I don't want to say boring, but it can. When you're reading something, it can feel
Yeah.
boring.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Or it just doesn't connect. It feels flat. You hear that all the time
Flat.
in storytelling is that your characters feel flat, and it's because they feel two-dimensional. It's a hard
Yeah.
one.
Tutu.
Two-dimensional. And so it's like, I mean, two-dimensional period is probably not great unless maybe it's an ancillary character, but even then, there's so many things you can do to give them, like, a personality. Like, take the
Yeah.
movie, Children of Men, for example. There's a scene towards the end where the main character is having to, like, get through this, like, crazy, like, war zone of a city, and he's captured by this group of bandits or whatever in the middle of this war zone city. And they're all pretty flat characters, and then this one character becomes very noticeably three-dimensional because he starts humming, he's walking different. Like, there's all these little things that this character does, and it's all because of the actor, right? But there's all these different little things that he's doing that you're like, "Oh, that character, like, has, like, stuff about him that's interesting." And so, yeah, when you're talking about making characters dynamic or feel real, that's what we're talking about with the emotional beats of, like, understanding who they are and what they're feeling because that's what people are
Yes.
connecting with.
Yeah. The another movie too that you can look at like an example for is The Gorge.
Oh,
Um
mhm.
Excellent movie. But so the beginning you've got a lot of development where it's showing you the characters, who they are. But as soon as they rely on their emotions, like literally as soon as they give into their emotions, stuff hits the fan.
Kurt.
Uh um like so the because the first time that they show like really making a connection with each other, something happens. And
Mhm.
then the next time when they take it even further,
Yeah.
everything falls apart.
Yeah.
So that's showing the consequences to the actions without doing it in a way that feels like in your face, I guess.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And there's so many great examples out there of well done or not well done emotional beats and stuff. I would just say, like, if you're someone who is, like, new to the concept of emotional beats, just try looking at what you've written so far on your current whip and be like, what is the character or character's emotions starting out and where are they at when they end this chapter? Or go look at a really, like, something that's been really well established and look up, okay, what are the emotional beats in this chapter versus, from start to end? And just kind of practice that element of learning how to recognize the underlying, the running emotions as opposed to, like, the surface level ones, because that'll be just
Yeah.
so helpful for your own writing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like bad examples of like emotional beats, any like I'm trying to think. So like I know a lot of B-rated movies are
Mm,
sort of bad examples for not like B-rated because they're like more independent, less money. I'm talking about like the ones that are purposely bad. Um
it's because
they
all they do is make a movie based on tropes. It's like I don't know if there's, like, B
yes.
books or whatever, but, like, that's all it is. It's like, I just made a story based on tropes. I didn't put any effort into character development or emotional beats or understanding what makes this great. I just was like, fast
Yeah, like
cars."
the yeah, like I mean, a really good example for like something that started with really good emotional beats, but then like kind of fell, going off of the fast cars thing, the Fast and the Furious series.
Oh, man,
Um,
now you're gonna really get us canceled.
oh no, 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 no. Look, I love the Fast and the Furious. Don't get me wrong. Um, there was beautiful emotional beats. If you
Mm,
watch the originals, I mean, every single movie had like the family dynamic, these
mm.
emotional depth, right? There was fast cars, but they had depth. And then you get to like what is it, Hobbs and Shaw, which is just like the branch off of the franchise.
I've only seen one, I don't know.
Yeah, so the Hobbs and Shaw one, in my opinion, and
Mhm.
y'all can fight me on this in the comments if you want, but I'm not gonna
If you
fight
want
back.
to.
Yeah, I'm not gonna fight back. I'll just cry. It's fine. Hobbs Hobbs and Shaw, in my opinion, falls flat. I don't think it was. I think it didn't do justice to the franchise because there's no strong emotional beats. There's one
Hmm.
emotion, we hate each other. And then it ends with, we kind of don't hate each other. That's it. Another really good one for emotional beats and hitting it is The Hobbit, in my opinion.
Yes.
So The Hobbit is, I mean, it's a very, I don't want to say basic, but in a lot of ways it is. It's a beautiful story. I love The Hobbit. It's one of my favorite books. But it's kind of basic in the senses of it's not a long book. It's a smaller book. But the reason why it's so beloved and why it's so well loved and so well cherished is because even though it's shorter and there is a lot of like kind of like time jumps, but not really, and like cuts and stuff in it, he hits all of the emotional beats as the story goes, and he hits them in a way that the story flows together really beautifully, so that it is a well-loved and enjoyed story because you fall in love with these characters because he hits all the emotional beats.
Yeah, and that's hard when you have an ensemble that big. That's a 14, 13 if you want to argue how long Gandalf's there, like, person ensemble. That's a lot of characters, and I don't think any of them really come across as flat. There might be one or two that you're like, I don't really remember who you are, but like they're all introduced and they're all given like some character traits that are consistent throughout the whole book.
And you love them enough still, even though this book is a smaller book, you love them enough still that when one of them dies, it's gut-wrenching.
Yeah, small
because
for Tolkien.
Of the emotional beats. Yeah. Because it's, I mean, it's right here. It's
right here.
It's not like a really thick book, but it's beautifully done because he hits the emotional beats right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great road trip book. If anyone's writing a road trip, and has an ensemble.
Yeah. Especially, ensembles are hard, especially when you have that many.
Oh my gosh, so many.
So many. I think I have like
Lord of the Rings was like,
I struggle. We have 2 in ours, and it's like,
no, I'm honestly so excited for our book. I feel like diving into like Act 2, like some of the stuff we already have and some of the stuff I know we're gonna add to it, like it's fun. I'm excited, even though I hate zombies. See, this is me presenting happiness and joy, and my underlying emotion is disgust of zombies. But I am excited, truly. I am. This is gonna be fun.
We talked about the false defeat scene today, and oof, I'm really excited for that one.
Yeah,
we're gonna be emotional in this book, I think,
and hopefully laugh so much.
Hopefully you're not just like, oh my gosh, these people are so depressing. It's like,
we'll have beta readers
you told 2 jokes.
1 joke per act. It is now a rom-com.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh. I don't think that's how that works.
No, I don't think so.
Good grief. Oh
man.
So, well, Darcy, what are you working on this next week?
So this next week is pretty much we're going to be working on kind of knocking out more of the emotional beats and Act 2. And I think that's probably going to end up being one of our bigger focuses this week is Act 2 because Lauren was explaining it earlier. For anybody who like wants a little bit more insight on the way the acts work, you have Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3.
Well, for a 3-act structure, there's also 4 and 5-act structure projects. So throwing that out there.
But for like the one that we're going with is is a 3-act structure. The second act, since it's the middle, is going to be your meat of the story. So the way Lauren described it earlier, it's like the Act 2 is going to be like 3/5 of the story, while Act 1 is 1/5 and Act 3 is 1/5, and then it all comes together. So like your biggest chunk is going to be that Act 2 in a 3-act. Project.
Yeah, and also like that middle section is really like the way that they say it in Save the Cat is it's the promise of the premise, which is basically like this is what you told people they were signing up for. So this is where you get to like dive into that and really enjoy that kind of stuff. So like for Pride and Prejudice, this is where you've been told like this is a Victorian romance and you get to see like all these different crazy things happen. And so you meet these characters and you see these balls and these dances and these things happen and you're like, so or like the Hunger Games, that's a great example. Like Katniss existing in the districts, going to the capital, then being thrown into the Hunger Games. That's your Act 2 massive section where you're like, now we're in the Hunger Games, now it's life or death. This is what I was told this Hunger Games book is about.
Yeah.
So for us it's zombies and romance and laughter.
Hopefully
Hopefully.
Hopefully
No,
we
I'm
don't think
excited.
we're funnier than we are.
Time
I
will tell.
definitely think I'm funnier than I am. So
Well, we'll find out with how people respond to Unholy Vows.
fair
Yee.
enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So,
Well, what about you? What are you working on? Because I know you don't just have the book stuff that you work on.
yeah, I've got so much I'm working on outside of the book stuff. I will say the win though is that last week we were talking about getting character development done, and we finished character development, which was fantastic. All of the characters that are like big fleshed out characters that we know about so far are fleshed out. Again, as we go through Act 2, and the people that are met along the way will start
Oh
to develop
no.
more and know that we need to go and develop those characters now because they now exist.
Oh no. Yeah, I
Didn't
totally
think about
forgot we had
that.
other characters. Yeah.
But they're all like B plot characters, so they're just
That
there to
is true.
support the main two. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
so
fair.
we finished that, which was great, and then yeah, we're just gonna keep outlining Act 2 and 3 with story beats and emotional beats, and then I think next weekend we start writing.
Writing. Ooh.
Yay! And then we'll have a fun like editing schedule and stuff too. So February is our month where Darcy's gonna write and I'm gonna edit what she writes, but there's no deadline, there's no timeline on anything. It's just gonna be how much can you get done each week. And then after that we'll evaluate what's realistic, because that's our goal for Unholy Vows is just to write something really, really great that resonates with people and that is also like timing wise realistic. So we want to make sure we're
Yeah.
giving ourselves time and space, not rushing through things so that we can create a really great story. Um, and then I'll go through and edit what's done, and then we'll set our schedule for writing after that. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited.
It amazes me. One of our past guests, is it I think it's Bree. She writes like multiple books a year, doesn't she?
I think she does like 2 or 3, or maybe when she was on, she said her goal was to get to 2 or 3. So,
Crazy.
yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, I think once you become a full-time writer though, and this is not that making it a job is bad, but this is a craft.
Yeah,
It's something you show up for daily and consistently, and you have practice under you. Like that's another
that's
thing I don't
true.
think people recognize is that like as a writer, like just write something. Like even if you're never going to publish it, even if it's just a short story or it's a novella or whatever, just write, just get the practice going.
Yeah. They say that the first one's always the hardest, and I will tell you, yes, that is true.
And sometimes you make it harder than it needs to be on
yeah.
yourself.
But then it becomes
Yeah.
it's a little less, I will say, yeah, it is a little less overwhelming because like I know with Unholy Vows that we can hit these deadlines that we
Yeah.
have because we've
Yeah.
done it. So
Yeah. Yeah, you just get more confident, you get more familiar with the process, you know what to look for. I mean, if anyone is looking to become a professional writer or a career writer or create things that are commercial, like that's part of the process is just show up, write stuff, get the reps in. Like again, we use the analogies all the time of like show up, write bad, like look at any other profession. Even if you think about like doctors and dentists, like they practiced, not on people. They practiced though, and practice and practice and practice until they got good enough to then transition to working with people. But they didn't just go straight from learning about it in a school setting and then just jumping straight in or being like, I want to be a dentist. Let me like look at your mouth. Or I want to be a doctor. Let me like give you a shot. You're like, no, like what?
no.
Same with the
Yeah.
mechanics. Any craft, any trade, anything that you have to have a skill in, it takes practice and repetition.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I can guarantee, like I would bet my left kidney, that any writer, professional or otherwise, that you talk to will tell you their first draft is not good. They're just getting the ideas on the page.
Yeah.
And then that's why there's multiple drafts usually. Like that first draft's never going to be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, our goal is to have the first 2 drafts done at basically the same time, because we're writing and editing the first go around before we even, look at potentially going the literary agent route or going out and reaching out to like beta readers. Like we want to be on draft 2 before we even approach any of that stuff.
Yeah, that is something too for our listeners to remember who are just starting out. The way that me and Lauren are going about writing our stuff is not the traditional way people do it. Ours
They
is
don't make a
much.
podcast?
No, I'm not
and
talking
write
about
a
that.
novella and co-write
Uh,
together for their first book.
no, the I was meaning more the manuscripts.
Oh, all right.
The way that we go about it, like writing and then editing at the same time, doing
Yeah.
our first and second draft basically simultaneously,
Mhm.
you don't have to do that. Most
Yeah.
people recommend you write through and then you go back and read through to edit again.
Sure. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that's the biggest recommendation that I see on like most people's things that I see online and everything like that. So if you're writing, just the biggest thing to remember, and you're learning from us and you're writing, we don't do it the traditional way. Our way is a little weird because we're co-writing. It's much different than just you writing your own book.
Well, and we have different strengths too, right? So, like, when I come bringing the editing perspective into it, when I'm writing and I'm the only writer, that actually is a really bad Achilles heel for me because what I have run into so often when writing my own stories is that I'll write the first 3 chapters and then I'll get stuck in a nonstop editing loop of those 3 chapters. And when I try to break out of it, I'm like, well, no, I got to make these even better before I go on to the next one. And so it's like, there's an element of us working together to utilize our strengths to make this, work within the time frame and the within the type of project that we've decided to work on together. So it's like, yes, you can take a lot of these things and translate them into your own work too, but there is a little bit of a recognition of like, if you're a pantser, maybe leaning into some of like the stuff specifically that Darcy talks about doing that's helpful for her. If you're a planner, leaning into some of the stuff, but not necessarily taking all of it and trying to do it all of like writing and editing at the same time for one person. It's not
Yeah.
realistic, probably not a good idea, period. I can speak from experience. It makes me struggle bus so much.
Yeah, yeah. Me too. Because I get
Yeah.
stuck on the loop of like I reread it and I'm like, wait, hang on, and then reread it and I'm like, no, stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah. So I wanted to add in that disclaimer because I know we're sharing like the techniques and stuff that we have and everything, but I just
Mhm.
didn't want some people to listen in and be like, oh my gosh, they do this in such an interesting way. This feels like it'd be overwhelming for me. It would
Yeah.
be overwhelming for most people if they're by themselves.
Oh,
We
yeah. For each of us.
Yeah, I mean, even the way we're co-writing is very different than you might co-write with somebody else
Yeah.
because the way we're co-writing is leaning very much into different strengths.
Mhm.
Like Lauren was
Yeah.
saying, like Lauren's the editing co-writer. She's still writing, but I'm
Yeah.
writing out like the first draft is me writing, and then we go back and she's writing as I go too. So it's very
Yeah.
different.
And the planning portion of it. I mean, I think that's why it's like I'm in the planning portion with you, very nitty-gritty, like, we're fleshing out the story stuff, like, obviously, you're gonna explore and experience things along the way that may change some of that stuff, but we're
Yeah.
building it out together as a clear roadmap, and then as you write, I come through and I bring in, "Oh, hey, we forgot about this. Is there a reason you changed that? Because we said this before," and there could be a valid reason, or it could just be, "I forgot," and it's just making sure
Yeah.
that we're hitting those things and we're keeping the story on point and on track, so that's all. I don't wanna turn this into an editing episode, but, like, yeah, that's how
Oh
we're
yeah,
working.
no.
Yeah.
I,
I
I
could
just
keep
wanted
talking
to.
about editing forever.
Yeah, you could, which is great though. I love it. I could talk about writing forever, which is why we do this.
Yeah, we've talked about it for at
But
least, I don't know, 18 hours, 20 hours.
yeah, at least. Yeah.
How many episodes do we got out there?
Gosh, what are we on now? Episode 5, and we had 14 season 1,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
18,
yeah, yeah. Not to
19.
count all the other gabbing we do about writing outside of this, but
Gab, gab,
yeah.
gab.
I know, so much.
So
Well,
much.
Darcy, where can they find you online if they want to continue following your adventures?
I am on Instagram, Darcy underscore Michaela. Um, Spelt a little funny, but you can find it the proper spelling under where you could find the podcast information, Lauren.
Yeah, if you want to follow the podcast, we have Untitled Work in Podcast on both Instagram and TikTok. And then we have Misty Morning Stories on Instagram and Threads if you're into that. I don't feel like
Yeah.
I meet a ton of people through Threads. I've met a few people, but like, I don't know. Threads is a funny space. And then we're also on YouTube as Misty Morning Stories. So Instagram, Threads, and YouTube for Misty Morning Stories, Untitled Work in Podcast on Instagram and TikTok, and Darcy on just Instagram under as Darcy Michaela.
Yeah, just Instagram. I
There you
technically
go.
have other social medias, but I don't use them.
Yeah.
Um, You can also email us if you are more of a private person and don't like putting stuff out there on comments and stuff at untitledworkinpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to talk to you guys about your own stories.
Yeah, and share wins with us. If you guys have a win or something
Yeah.
that you like, a goal that you hit or a work that you released, hit us up, email us, and share that win with us, and maybe we can do a shout out or something.
We'd love to do that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, I think
Well,
that's it.
I guess that's it. So you guys know what time it is. Like,
Mail
comment, and
time.
subscribe. No, mail time. I just caught that.
I love when you like watch, like I know when you've listened to the episode when it's been released, because you're like, oh, I just got that joke. I'm like,
It's
Darcy.
so bad. You know what's so funny is that episode, the Joanne Fabrics joke that you made.
Oh, I didn't even mean to. It just came out. I was like, oh, dang.
It was perfect because I didn't even catch it too. So that's so good.
Yeah,
and then I
just
listened
kept
to that
going.
episode like 4 times and I was like, hang on, was that a Joanne Fabrics joke?
Yeah, so if you guys want to hear that joke, episode 2, I think, or 3.
Is it episode? Yeah,
I think it's
something
2.
like that.
Yeah.
Talk about the better.
See, we
beta
can be
readers.
kind of funny.
Yeah,
Well, other people need to confirm that. Well, I think
unintentionally
we're...
funny. Listen, I laugh every time I listen to our podcasts.
I do
so-
too. It's fun. I enjoy this. This has definitely
I do
become a
too.
surprising joy to be able to be a part of. It's so fun to
Agreed.
get to talk about our work, and it also makes us do the work. So that's also really
It
nice.
does. Yeah, holds
I
us
do.
accountable.
I take our 1,012 views on our, episode or our shorts very seriously. I'm showing
Hey,
up for
me
that
too.
1,012, those 1,012 people right there. Because if
Yeah, there you
I
go.
don't finish my goal, I know you guys will 100% come for me. Absolutely. And the comment section and be like, excuse me, how come you didn't
Where's
finish
the
your
thing?
goals? Yeah, where's the thing?
You said you'd do it.
I'm joking, but yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if you guys were like, where's the thing?
Yeah, I wouldn't either, honestly. I'd be like, oh no, there's more people that expect things from me. I gotta do the thing.
Yep. I love it. All right.
All right, guys. Well, just remember, everybody is a work in progress. It's a process. So we'll
Yes,
see you
it
next
is.
week.
See you next week.
Bye, guys.